And there you have it, folks, the Microsoft press conference here at E3 2015. What a show! There was a lot of stuff that got us all here clamoring in the war room at GameSpot HQ. We are going to run through all of it, so stick with us here. We're going to share our impressions, our hopes, our dreams for the things that we saw, and the stuff that really impressed us. So, guys, we're going to start off right where we thought they would start off. Halo 5 Guardians kicked off the Microsoft press conference, and they showed some 4-player co-op campaign play. Showed some trailers. What did you guys think?
I thought it was fantastic. I thought they did a great job with Halo 5. I think they knew that game needed to be different enough, and I think they emphasized what was going to be new about this game. I think with the Warzone multiplayer at the end that they showed, I think that's going to be really interesting. I think the cynic in people are going to say, okay, they're adding a bit of Titanfall in there, they're adding a bit of Destiny in there, but personally I think they've done a really good job.
I think it's looking way more distinct than previous Halo games. There was always like a common thread between each of them, whereas this feels like 343 kind of ripping it away from Bungie and making it of its own. Halo 4 was a small step towards that, but it still was very much tied into the old thing. But by pushing Master Chief onto the other side and having a brand new group of people to kind of look after, it's really, really interesting. I like that. I mean, we were reading about the 4-player co-op stuff beforehand, but I like that we got to see that in action, and it looked really cool where Locke was giving orders to different people, and they were kind of doing as he was told, as they were told. It looked really, really cool. I'm excited about it.
It still feels like Halo, though, because you've got, I mean, even that grunt spot was the perfect Halo spot for me.
I regret everything.
So exactly.
It was adorable.
So it's still got that, I don't know, that little bit of edge to me, like that little bit of humor, and plus lots of purple. Purple is a Halo color.
Purple and yellow, so it's both old Halo and new Halo.
The contrast.
Exactly.
And I really do like that 4-player co-op dynamic they were showing off. The banter reminded me of ODST, of Reach, and those are some of Bungie's more personality-driven Halos, and so I'm definitely looking forward to those characters being fleshed out. The new Promethean sort of Hunter-Killer, is that the Terminator reference there? So some new Promethean enemies on display here, as well as the Spartan abilities from the multiplayer beta.
Yeah, and we just saw there's a lot more cooperation between characters. Like we saw the one of the Spartans reviving another one, which is something new to the series, and it is like it's very similar to stuff like Gears and other co-op-based games. Like I think when you're playing on your own, you can issue a command to one of the AI characters to go and do it, whereas whether you're playing with an actual human, you can go over and do it yourself. So and there's a bit towards the end where the actual the main boss enemy that comes up at the ground, and it looks just like Destiny. So it's like it felt like a Destiny moment there. I was like, wow, they are kind of drawing from all the inspirations, and where the Halo has gone on to become what it's become. The different games, they're taking everything. So yeah, it's looking very, very cool. I like the look of it so far. I'm excited for Halo once again after a somewhat tepid response to Halo 4.
And Halo 5 Guardians due out this fall. They announced the release date. Is it an October release date?
I believe
Blanking
so.
on it currently.
Yeah, I think that was right. Yes. I was just so hyped by it. I didn't even know. I was just falling off my chair.
October 27th, Halo 5 Guardians. All right. Next up, we have they showed us their classic, their pillar of the sort of old IPs. Next up, we have a new IP, Recore. What did you guys think?
I thought it looked fantastic. It reminded me of Ico in certain moments, you know, that isolation, you against the world. I really like this idea that your companion in this, we thought it was going to be a dog, because most games have dogs these days, right?
And it was a dog for most of the trailer,
yeah. But it was actually an orb, right? It was it's like a
soul,
a digital soul that you can put into different machines. I thought it was a really cool idea. I think the development talent behind this are fantastic, and I think it's got a lot of promise.
The development talent being Keiji Inafune and the creators of Metroid Prime.
Yeah, so that's Armature Studios, which is the kind of some of the developers that from Metroid Prime Retro, who recently made Batman Arkham Origins Blackgate for Vita and PS4 and that kind of stuff, and they've also done a lot of port work on Metal Gear Solid and a whole bunch of other games, so they have got a pedigree to them. I mean, Blackgate wasn't a massive success, and it wasn't exactly amazing to set the world on fire. They did trade off a lot of that Metroid Prime, Metroid kind of history, but I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with something a little more original, and it's good to see Inafune working on something else again.
Could I just ask a whiny question? If you were a backer of Concept's new platformer game, what's it
Mighty
called?
Number 9.
Mighty Number 9. If you were a backer of Mighty Number 9 and you know that Inafune is now working on something else before the final development of that game, how would you feel?
I don't know. I think a lot of people might be savvy enough to know that his part of designing might be over by that point. But then again, he's a guy that worked at Capcom on a whole bunch of games at once. I mean, he had his fingers in so many pies at Capcom, and a lot of those games came out and they were excellent. So he's a guy that's clearly capable of working on multiple projects at the same time. He's just not done it since he was at Capcom, because he's not been at a studio that big. But as Concept continues to grow, I reckon he'll start moving back into that role.
Fair enough. Maybe I was being a bit too cynical about that.
You were.
Right. You? Well balanced. Well balanced. Right at the end there with Recore, of course, you saw sort of a tease of some of the other sort of animal-like shapes that the orb will be able to inhabit. There was a gorilla, kind of floating octopus, spider, creepy. And so, definitely some gameplay diversity maybe you can extrapolate from that. But Recore, one of the big surprises of Microsoft's E3 2015 press conference, looking very cool. From Recore, we headed into one of the biggest bombshell quotes of this E3. Your Xbox 360 games will be playable natively on your Xbox One.
Megaton.
Megaton.
That is huge.
That is absolutely huge.
And incredibly infuriating considering I just put all those games away. I'm so annoyed right now.
I think this is a fantastic initiative by Microsoft. It really is going to win a lot of fans over. Everyone and their brother have an Xbox 360, right? Everyone has it. Everyone has a massive collection of Xbox 360 games.
My sister's even got an Xbox 360.
Your sister has an Xbox. You don't even have a sister.
Everyone has one.
So, I think it's a great idea. There was a great dig at Sony, and I think I got quite a deserved one because PlayStation Now is streamed games that we already own, like at a price, and they said you can play your old games for free on Xbox One. I mean,
that was big shots fired there.
That is some shots fired, yeah.
We won't charge you to play games you already own.
Yeah, wow.
So that, of course, raises the question,
how?
Yeah, because you can't imagine them being like, because they say, okay, you have your disc, put the disc in, download it to your Xbox One, and then you can play. But you can't imagine them just letting anyone with a game disc use it, because then
just passing it around
the used retail market becomes a whole different thing, and you could just pass it around. And I don't know. That's the kind of free license that platform holders have been really reluctant to give up in this generation of consoles. However, they were also reluctant to talk about any kind of backwards compatibility, and now we're seeing it implemented. So what do you guys think?
It's surprising how far Microsoft's come from trying to lock down like the pre-owned market to this point where it seems like they're just completely opening the doors. Complete reversal.
Complete
I get the feeling that there's going to be some caveats that they just don't want to dig into because it would kind of sully the moment.
I think they're going to be open about this. I think I'm going to be totally cool about this.
I definitely think they're going to detail it and they're going to be open about it. But I think they don't want to go into the nitty gritties where every game has a unique code that once it's used is gone. Like they don't want to talk about that because the
thing is that they're not going to make any money on backwards compatibility. This is never going to be about money. I mean, it upsells the Xbox One slightly, yes, but this is about fan service, right? This is about their engineers doing loads of software emulation on the back end so we can play our old games. This isn't about selling old games.
So do you reckon everyone will be able to just pass around the same game? And
yeah, I think that's going to be absolutely fine. I think a few publishers who are re-releasing digital deluxe editions going to be a bit annoyed that the originals are now going to be available on Xbox One.
Or they might just not make them available because they said it's not going to. Yeah, it's not going to require any more development to make it work, but it does require dev approval.
Right.
So it's not just the game developers or whoever happens to own that license needs to approve it. It's not just, let's put everything out there.
So it was a bit like SharePlay, where Sony was like, "Oh, this is going to be great. You can just you can play games online with your friends all the time." And then every publisher went, "No, you're not doing that." No.
Yeah, really interesting to see how that's going to work out. That's Xbox One backwards compatibility with the Xbox 360. Wow,
big,
huge.
Then we've got to look at the Elite controller, the Xbox Elite controller. What did you guys think of that?
I was writing a news story at the time, so I was kind of looking up and down, and basically every time I looked up, the controller was just like in bits. So I'm not completely sure what's happening there. Someone's going to have to explain
swappable parts. You can pop off the domed analog stick for the concave one if you want, or the D-pad I think was the most sort of eye-catching. It was that like little basin that had different angles, so it was like a little hole to sort of or cave to rest your thumb in, and then move around from there.
I'll be really happy if either I have some kind of other bumpers that I can stick in there, or some bumper alternative, because the bumpers are the thing I hate the most on the Xbox One controller.
Oh, right, I see.
So I would really love to get something in there. But I think also something to note was that it says compatible with Xbox One and Windows 10. Like, it was right there on the screen.
Kind of takes the shine off Microsoft's, not Microsoft's, Steam's new controller, right? If it's kind of got like, it looks like, for example, that bit there, it looks like almost like a mouse pad area. So if they could add that kind of functionality into it, it could kind of cross over and then make it more suited for PC play.
I am slightly amazed that if you could make any, but personally, if I could make any modification to the Xbox One controller, I would add in lithium batteries or like recharge abilities, basically. Yeah. But this appears to be
still have the battery case.
Still have the battery casing. Yeah, they're going hard on the battery casing.
It does look. I mean, there's going to be a lot of third-party, peripheral makers out there creating custom bits, and it's a good way to customize your own controller. Like I don't know, people love buying the Halo version of a controller. If they could just release like a Halo, D-pad or something like that, it's a good way for Microsoft and for peripheral makers to make more money and give people a chance to express themselves through their controllers.
Express yourself. Don't just put a sticker on it because it'll rub off. Also, it's got those tabs on the back. Have you guys ever played with a controller with these things? Because they're definitely in use in competitive circles, because it's a way to get more button access without taking your thumb off the analog stick to press the buttons. I don't know. Have you tried it?
I've never tried it. I mean, the last time I saw something like that was when Call of Duty hacking was a big thing, and people were adding in shortcuts in the back just so they can do weird, like 360 no scopes and that kind of stuff. But
it was extra buttons. That's why. That's how they could do it tomorrow.
I knew it. I knew I went that bad all this time. But I've never used it. But I'm definitely intrigued. Like it opens up the with like. More strategy games arriving and that kind of thing. It could open up a lot of possibilities with shortcuts and that kind of thing, programmable buttons. So it's definitely interesting.
Right on. Xbox Elite controller for Xbox One and Windows 10 coming sometime. Then I feel like we entered a little bit of a lull in the press conference because we went to that Fallout 4 demo, and don't get me wrong, I'm very excited for Fallout 4, but the demo at Bethesda's press conference last night was so much more expansive.
Yes.
Todd Howard was so much more animated. This just felt like a lesser version. So what was the point?
Yeah,
I'm not quite sure why this happened.
I'm not. Yeah, I mean they announced the Fallout 3 coming with Fallout 4.
I guess that was One.
On Xbox One. So
and
I guess
there
was
we
an opportunity.
Well, then they also talked about mods. And I think maybe that was the big story here. Is that mods created on the PC can be shared onto Xbox One. And I mean, you guys have all seen plenty of mods in your day for Skyrim, for GTA, but for Fallout 3, there's some, for Fallout 4, the mind reels at how many mods you can bring down the pipe, especially given the customization we saw on display in Fallout 4 last night during Bethesda's press conference.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I should be a bit more positive about this because I think PC modding, being able to play that on the Xbox One, I think that's going to be a big deal. Again, I think it strengthens that link between the Xbox One and Windows 10, which Microsoft is showing so much at the moment. And, I think it's a really good move. I think it's really smart.
And it's a pretty big deal for Bethesda as well. Like, let's not forget, yesterday they announced something similar for Doom with Bethesda Net as well. So they're
Doom
clearly,
SnapMap.
SnapMap and Bethesda Net, which is powering a lot of their online presence from forums to actual like user-generated content propagation, that kind of stuff. So it's interesting. I like that Bethesda's kind of going back to its PC roots in an element for some of these franchises and allowing people to come together. I think it's strengthening the community, which is good because a lot of these games they rely on people coming together. Like after a while, like Fallout becomes once you've played Fallout a bunch of times, like it kind of stagnates and you kind of like playing the stuff over and over again. But if they're giving the people the opportunity to come together and keep it fresh, it just works out good for them when they release like extra content officially because people will be already there.
I just wonder how far it goes or who the gatekeepers are for some of this, because I think of using something like even with Skyrim and using the Nexus stuff and all that stuff. Like you can easily just break shit all over the place, and
it can go wrong.
There's a whole lot that can go wrong when you do mods. So I kind of wonder who's going to be the gatekeeper. Are these things going to need to be approved? Is this going to open up the whole paid mods? Can of worms all over again. What are they going to do to be keeping us from, I don't know how many people are prepared to break their copy of Fallout 4 on a console.
Of
It's
course.
interesting.
That's an interesting point.
Yeah, that point that Kevin made when they tried to introduce Steam mods for Skyrim, there was a lot of backlash, and Bethesda said that maybe introducing it with a community that was pre-existing with Skyrim was a bad idea. So this might be an opportunity to redo that stuff again from the outset and make paid mods a thing.
It is kind of a start from scratch situation, not just because it's a new game, but because you're also talking about the console transferability and, you know, sort of starting to create that mod community to more you were talking about on a console. It's going to be really interesting to see how this works out as we look ahead to the release of Fallout 4 this November 10th.
Yeah.
And then from there, we talked some EA Access. Okay, Titanfall coming to Dragon Age Inquisition. EA Access is free to all Gold members this week, which means nothing to us who are stranded in LA without our consoles.
Sorry.
But I don't know, anything here substantive to you guys, EA Access stuff?
I mean, Titanfall kind of, it burned bright, but didn't burn for very long.
That's right.
And it was, I mean, in the last Microsoft sale, I remember it was going for just a few pounds and dollars.
Well, and the DLC was given away for free
given
as
away
well.
for free.
I mean,
kind of,
do you know what? Even though it looks a bit desperate, it's actually a really smart move because the main thing that they need right now is a community. They need a big community of players who want to keep on playing it, keep on talking about it, and I think that's what they're losing, and I think that's why they're giving it away for free now.
You're talking about Titanfall specifically here because we know a new Titanfall's in the works. Respawn's not at E3 this year, though, so we're not going to be hearing anything about that. However, keep Titanfall in players' minds as, I remember that, I had a good time. That was really good, Then we went to a game that I was delighted to see, but maybe drew a few sort of Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare 2. Anybody?
Nah.
Any guys?
I'm not big on that.
Anybody?
Not my thing.
That's fine.
I mean, it looked charming. It looked cool.
Yeah.
I guess I could go back. I want to go back and play the original.
Why would you want to do that? There's a sequel coming out at some point.
It looks cute.
That was a fun one, and it's one of these that, during a press conference is really delightful to just see the, saturated colors and, playfulness, which we'll definitely get to later as we talk about the indie showcase and, of course, Rare's appearance. But before we get there, judging from our pre-show, I'm guessing that not a lot of us have a lot to say about Forza Motorsport 6.
Not really. No.
It's a racing game.
It's a racing
They
game.
showed
racing
Forza
game?
They
Motorsport
showed a racing
6,
game.
Every car
which
has
I can
4
see
wheels.
almost all the time.
Four? 4 wheels on every single
No
car.
trikes?
2 doors either side go up and down.
Well, there was a lot more going up and down on that car than just
On
the
every
doors.
vehicle
Everything.
that's
On
ever
every-
been in Forza.
It was a bit of a weird moment when they were showing off Forza 6 because they were lowering a car into the...
I just kind of wondered, is it going to fall?
Yeah,
Now
first of
that's a headline right there.
Yeah.
Freak accident car. Ford pays millions in damages.
But
I
what do
just,
they- what do
I
they
just
ex-
wish they had Dan Greenwald then step out of that car.
That'd be
You know,
great.
that's give me a Peter Moore
That would've been
tattoo
amazing.
level approximation of stunt, executive stunt kind of thing.
But what do they expect people to do right now? Go, oh my god, it's a car!
Yeah, they expect you to do the same thing with this car that you did with the trailer. Ogle the cars, say, damn, those cars look good. Cool, well, the cars are going to happen
pretty.
later. But speaking of ogling, as soon as I think the first frame of this trailer came up, we all knew what it was. Dark Souls 3.
Yep.
Our
big
first look here at... Let's try that again.
Whoops.
Moving swiftly.
You guys, they showed Dark Souls 3, and this is what it looked like right from the bonfire. We see
you could
right
tell.
from the beginning, produced by Bandai Namco in that text. Everyone gasped. Everyone was excited.
Yep.
Got
From
that sort of
software.
bloodborne dragging a body around. Do you ever even drag bodies in that game? Anyways, Dark Souls 3, not announced in terms of exclusivity, this or that, but this was our first look at it. Kevin, you are something of a fan of the Dark Souls series.
Something of
What
a
do you
fan.
say about Dark Souls 3?
I'm hyped, but I mean, what is there to say right now? We have this little teaser trailer, and not a whole, and it's Giant Knight Rises, but not a whole lot beyond that. I mean, this looks very Dark Souls, so for me, it's going to be a question of setting. It's going to be a question of setting. It's gonna like
What,
but
it's
I-
going to be in this sort of dark fantasy
There's-
world. There's your setting.
I mean, there's a lot of similarities between the first two Dark Souls and
Oh, of
this. I mean, it's
course.
got the usual like callbacks. You know, it's got the crown, a kingdom that's fallen, and there's going to be a kind of struggle, or it's always surrounding
sure.
like power struggles and what happened to this kingdom. Where is the monarch? That kind of thing, and obviously like some sort of demon scourge or uprising happening at the time. So yeah, it looks very similar to original Dark Souls. We haven't seen a lot of the new stuff. Obviously, there was that leak earlier which suggested a lot of crazy things like sacrifices and that kind of
He's
stuff.
huge.
But we've got this huge thing here. Another thing to note,
Playable,
which is
huge game face guy.
another thing to note, which is really important, in the leaked or the rumors earlier, there was talk of Miyazaki being involved in this version, not confirmed in this at all.
That's right.
He is currently believed to be working on Bloodborne DLC, so we don't know quite what he's doing now. It may be that he's actually left Bloodborne and doing something else. We're not quite sure.
When you first heard that rumor, you were very doubtful, weren't you?
Yeah, I was doubtful about
Why
Miyazaki.
were you doubtful?
Because he's the kind of guy, I mean, fans of Souls really dig into how Miyazaki is as a person, and he's the kind of guy that when he has a project, he really focuses in on that.
Right.
I mean, he was known for being quite involved in the DLC for original Dark
Yeah.
Souls and that kind of thing. So it would strike me as very unusual if he abandoned Dark Souls to work on something, Bloodborne to work on something else. I reckon he would put a full stop to Bloodborne before he moved on. But having said that, I mean, the team at From Software has grown significantly. As you can see, they're working on two
Yeah, no
products
doubt.
at the same time. So it may be the case that he's kind of delegated to his underlings or second in commands.
His
because
underlings.
His underlings. He's Lord Miyazaki.
His minions.
He wears the crown. So he's like, make me a game. So it may be it could come out soon. I think Sony would want to keep a lid on whether he's involved right now because
Right.
a lot of Bloodborne's is being sold, or people are reacting to the fact that it's a Miyazaki game.
Yeah.
There was a lot of backlash against Dark Souls 2, even though it was a good game. Like, people were saying that we can tell that he wasn't involved in this. So for him to bounce this early from Bloodborne would be a bit weird for a lot of fans of the series. But still, it looks good. I enjoyed what I saw of it. It evoked the similar themes and vibes from the original Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2. So I'm excited. I'm always up for another Souls game.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Souls game, Dark Souls 3, coming down the pipe sometime, did they say early 2016,
Early
I believe, at
2016,
the end
yeah.
of the
That's what they
trailer.
said,
So
yeah.
we'll look forward to that next year. Now, Ubisoft took the stage
They did.
at the Microsoft press conference this year, and even with their own press conference coming later this afternoon, they showed off two games, the first of which was The Division. Of course, this one we've sort of, it's been a few E3s running now that we've been getting looks at this, and this one seemed to focus on the people, sort of talking about
Being activated.
we thought this was going to happen. They told us this might happen. We prepared, we're prepared for when everything we knew would just stop happening. And yeah, being activated. So
Yeah.
hinting at the lore of who are these people who, when society goes bad, just start walking around with assault rifles and trying to restore order.
I always got the impression, well, I felt like they were going for a kind of like minimal lore thing, just create a world and allow people to create the stories within it in the same way that something like DayZ does. But it seems like, and it's not really surprising considering the Tom Clancy series is based on quite heavy narrative-driven stuff. It's quite like interesting that they're going for an actual story to tell when the gameplay is kind of like open world, go around, create gangs and find stuff. So yeah, it looks good though. I really enjoyed what I saw so far.
Yeah, and I think that, you talk about a game like DayZ or these games with more emerging narratives, those are sort of heavily dependent on a multiplayer component, on there being dynamic sort of elements, people creating their own stories. We certainly see in this trailer that there are a lot of gas-masked thugs who are very clearly visually read as enemy. However, in years past, we've also seen competing squads of human players depicted on the same map. There was no real hint of that kind of multiplayer component to it here. Do you think we're going to see that maybe later at Ubisoft's press conference? Or
Yeah, I reckon so.
Yeah, I am almost positive of that. So
All right, well, we'll look forward to that. We're going to have a pre-show for that in just a little while. Also, they showed off Rainbow Six Siege.
Yeah.
Brief look at that, which is coming out later this year. They showed off maybe a new mode. There was some bomb defusing stuff, but only a glimpse at the two maps we've seen thus far, the airplane, of course, and the house. And really a look, I've played this game a bunch during the alpha. The distinct operators really really contribute to what sort of each match feels like and how it's going to play out. They didn't really make a point of showing off new operators. That kind of granularity stuff maybe seems more suited for their press conference.
Yeah.
They also announced that there was going to be some other Rainbow Six games that come with it, right? Or
yeah,
is that my imagination?
Yeah, so I think they're very much trying to draw the comparison between this game and the kind of like working together, cooperative kind of thing, and the Rainbow Six Vegas games, which were huge on that with Terrorist Hunt and kind of how difficult they were to play if you weren't working together. So yeah, those two games will be coming with this with Rainbow Six Siege on Xbox One, I believe. I don't believe it's going to be the same everywhere, so I think this might be a Microsoft-only deal.
Well, they made a point of saying it's with the new backwards compatibility thing that they're coming. So it's going to be download codes, and it's going to be that same kind of code that you know, work in the same way that the backwards compatibility they announced earlier in the press conference would work as well. Rainbow Six Siege coming out October 13th, and for more on Siege and The Division, we're going to look to our Ubisoft press conference later today. Then we had a quick announcement of. After that, we had a quick Gigantic showed up on stage, and this is the question I have for you guys. What is the name of this genre? Gigantic, Overwatch, Battleborn, Battlecry. They all are slightly different, but they're all sort of hero combat, action-oriented combat. The term MOBA sort of it like hangs in their game design somewhat, but they're not really MOBAs.
I think they're closer to like team-based first-person shooters. Like I think of Gigantic being closer to Team Fortress than a traditional MOBA game. Obviously, it's cribbing a lot of elements. Well, not a lot of like the kind of the hero elements of it and putting it back into a Team Fortress style blueprint. I mean, it doesn't have mobs and creeps and that kind of thing, which are kind of at the heart of MOBAs,
central,
right? Yeah. So I think that's what distinguishes it from a classic MOBA. So this is more like a Team Fortress with a twist, I reckon. And it looks really, really cool. I mean, gameplay-wise, it looks fairly similar. The classes seem to be very, very much like the traditional classes you would get in something like Team Fortress. But like the character designs are really, really cool. I like the look of the kind of the masked guy and the arrow and bow and arrow character, which is cool. And these little...
What, like Broccoli Demon?
Yeah, Broccoli Demon looks cool.
Demon?
Dragon. I think I described it during the conference as like Pokemon meets Team Fortress, where you can like throw out this one monster to do your bidding for a little while and then just call it away.
You
which
can.
is
You
really
actually
cool.
summon them from like specific points in the map,
It's really cool. I like the style of
Looks
it.
great.
Yeah, it looks really nice.
And so a few other stories here. Free to play and across Windows 10 and Xbox One. Of course, with that Windows 10 integration, there is the possibility for cross-platform play. And I think Gigantic is one of the first games confirmed to have that. And that's going to be available. There's going to be a beta for Gigantic in August, and it's exclusive to the PC and Xbox One. Next up in the Microsoft press conference at E3 2015 was the indie montage.
Oh, wow.
And man, did they just like blow through about a dozen or so
really
indie
did.
games really quick. I had a bad moment during that where I was like, oh, that's cool. That looks cool. What's that one? That looks neat. But then thinking like, oh my God, they're just going to blow through this and not show us in depth anymore. Fortunately, my fears were allayed when they did get into sort of a bunch of sort of highlighted indie titles, the first of which was Tacoma from Fulbright. And that Fulbright, of course, the folks who made Gone Home. Tacoma, one of the sort of eerie sort of exploration type games, a little bit in the spirit of Gone Home, but definitely a different setting.
Yeah, I mean, Fulbright, absolutely fantastic studio. They opened up the montage. There were 4 studios, weren't there, that were on stage. I think the eagle-eyed among you at home will know that that Sony did the same thing 2 years ago at their E3 show.
They sure did.
They had like 8 indie developers come on stage and talk about their timed exclusive games. And I thought, you know, Chris Charlotte introducing these 4 different games that are going to be exclusive or timed exclusive to Xbox One, I thought that was super smart.
I'm curious here about this, though, because at the very end, it looks... the thing is, I don't know American Sign Language, so I might be very... I don't want to step on anybody's toes, but it looks like she's using ASL or something similar.
She was finger spelling her password.
So my question is, you know, is that in gameplay, or are we dealing with, you know, in this case, a deaf protagonist? which
Yeah.
is really interesting.
Yeah,
really cool, yeah.
especially in light of an indie game they showed a few demos later, Beyond Eyes, in which the creator or representative who was up on stage described as wanting to capture the experience kind of being blind. This is a blind protagonist, and so she explores her world with other senses, and her world is illuminated in a different way, a very kind of watercolor, painterly way, which really, I mean, shows beautifully and reminded me of sort of echoes of Ori and the Blind Forest's appearance at last year's press conference.
You know, it reminded me of the Unfinished Swan as well a little bit.
Giant
like
sparrows.
like a watercolor version of that. It looks absolutely beautiful, doesn't it?
Yeah, it looks really nice.
So that was another Beyond Eyes, another one of the indie games showcased at Microsoft's E3 press conference. Ashen was another, and that was the sort of looked like an exploration game. You were third person, two characters who had blank faces. And so, I mean, this shot is just lovely and evocative of sort of exploring the ruins of something long past or of a different scale and unfathomable sort of thing. But then in like just a minute or two, you're like, okay, cool, this is like a co-op game. This dude totally gets it.
Yeah,
like,
he gets
he gets skewered
shanked pretty hard
by a spear, but here we see some sort of co-op tropes. What do you think, Kevin? Ashen intriguing you in any kind of way?
It does intrigue me. I just because I love the atmosphere. I mean, when I'm looking at this, the first thing I think of is Eco from Team Eco. So that's the vibe that I had at first, and then suddenly everything started changing, and it's like, this isn't going to go so well, and ouch.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of curious about what this place is. This ruin where maybe they've awakened these robots.
Yeah.
And it's not every game demo that shows you the death of one person that you presume to be the protagonist or one of during the demo. But there you have Ashen. And then, like, rounding out that indie segment was one that we are all just going bonkers for here, Cuphead.
Man.
You can't look at this thing in action and not have a smile on your face.
It's just charming.
It's
from
just
like
beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah. It's just look at it. You can't look at this game without smiling. It just looks incredible.
There's nothing quite like it out there. And what I really like about it is, mechanically, at its base, it's really just like a shmup, really. Isn't it?
It looks just like
shmup.
it. Yeah,
well, I think they also said platformer, right? So they definitely want, because, well, yeah, you are shooting, but yeah, a lot of it is avoiding these sort of complicated projectiles coming your way.
It does, yeah.
Look at that.
Points, it just looks like you're playing a cute version of Ikarugo. Like here, look at this. Like having to dodge in between fireballs while they're covering the platform.
Look at this!
Like, it looks incredible.
And then look at this!
Just look at
it.
It
just looks so good. But it looks like it's going to be so hard.
Yeah.
What was the release date announced? It was
like 1963 plus 20 or 80 years or something
1936 plus 80 years. So it's coming out next year, 2016, but based on that old-timey 1930s cartoon aesthetic. That's Cuphead, rounding out Microsoft's indie showcase at the Microsoft press conference here at E3. Then, moving right along, we got to Xbox Game Preview.
Yeah.
Xbox Game Preview, Microsoft debuted it here. It's their version of Steam Early Access. Are you glad to see something like this come to consoles?
I think it's inevitable, and I think it's pretty cool. Some people want to play games early, and they can. I think
they're taking some of the danger away from it by allowing people to trial a game before they decide whether they want to commit and be a part of that early development process or not. That's really, really smart, because a lot of the dangers of Steam Early Access is buying into a game which seems okay and then finding out that it's actually complete crap for like the next 2 years, and it probably won't be good. Yeah, what have I bought? Dang it. But like Hinterlands and Elite Dangerous are available today on the program, so you can go and check it out, see if you want to play them and commit money to it, then go for it.
You certainly can.
Yep.
Now, let's talk about the thing that got us all the most excited. I feel like there's no reservation in saying this was like my most thrilling moment of E3 thus far, the HoloLens demo of Minecraft.
Oh my lord. Oh, wow. That looks incredible.
Yep.
I mean, so we were talking before the show about how HoloLens sort of has the advantage on VR because you can rig up a special camera and then see it in action. And this table we see here is where he sort of transfers the game to, and we were seeing it in action, and I still didn't want to believe it. I wanted to figure out, like, what is the trick here? How are they faking this? But Justin Haywald, our senior news producer here, was saying, yep,
this is legit.
I played it.
Yeah.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
It is incredibly immersive.
Yeah.
And I mean, is this basically what you dreamed?
Even though Justin has said it looks, I still can't believe it. Like it looks incredible. Like the way he's just moving into the actual, like the composition of the image and just looking around. It looks insane. I don't know how they're doing it, which is kind of the best thing you can say about it. It just feels like magic and voodoo.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. I mean, if it's anything like this, I'm gonna have to get it.
Yeah, it's just like, and the best thing is like we were saying earlier. It's just completely different from normal VR.
Yeah,
it's just so different. Oh my god, look at it!
Oh my god,
I've not played much Minecraft, but man, I am looking forward to playing
now
some Minecraft.
Now I want to play Minecraft. I'm like, I don't play Minecraft. Now I want to play Minecraft.
I am down for some Minecraft
Look at
right
me
now.
moving my fingers around and doing this stuff.
Yeah,
and it's just, I mean, could they pick a better game to demo this
exactly,
with?
it's
Minecraft
perfect.
is just the spirit of play and exploration, and it's laid out there right in front of you. And that's really what you want when you have a new piece of gear like HoloLens. You want it to be something that people are excited to play, to explore in, and to just kind of mess around with. And this kind of sandbox experience of Minecraft, the way that they've sort of calibrated it just...
I'm just thinking about all the stories,
incredible.
how much positive praise and press they got in the early days of Minecraft for being like a really interesting and intuitive tool for kids to learn things like engineering and that kind of thing, building little elevators and that kind of stuff. And then seeing this and just thinking, man, they've just taken that to a whole new level. They could have this like in classrooms and that kind of thing where kids are learning.
That's the exciting thing. This was just one demonstration of what you could create with this tool. But like people are going to create these incredible, these weird, idiosyncratic creations.
I mean, you could easily give this to like surgeons and get them to do like trial runs on surgeries and that kind of thing. Like the applications of it now are just mind blowing. Well, obviously, we're just going to play Minecraft with it because we're not that smart.
Naturally, I mean, it's like because this is so believably awesome. It really. I'm thinking, as you guys are describing other applications, of the trailer they showed, and it's like, oh, I'm designing a motorcycle, I'm doing a PowerPoint presentation, I'm doing all this stuff. Like, it makes me a believer that stuff could work and work well because this works so well.
But I want it to work as well.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
I want to believe.
I want to believe.
I want to believe in HoloLens.
HoloLens.
Fascinating look at Microsoft's HoloLens playing Minecraft at Microsoft's press conference here at E3 2015. And then, of course, Microsoft closed out their press conference with one of their big franchise. We all knew it was going to come. Gears of War. They said Gears of War Ultimate Edition. It's the original Gears, remastered, modernized, coming out on August 25th. But it's Gears of War 4 that we saw the longer demo for.
Gears 4. They've dropped the of
you're
war.
Right. Very cool.
There's no war happening. There's just Gears. 4 of them.
Gears 4. And it starts off, and it's a guy we don't really recognize in a dark place, and then he's with a woman. Are they the new Marcus and Dom?
Yeah, Marcus and Anya.
Marcus and Anya?
Yeah,
but I mean, she's playable right from the get-go.
Yeah.
It took till Gears of War 3 for Anya to take to the field.
True.
But here we are. It's very dark. Right there, we see there are two moons. And so I did a little Googling, and according to Gearspedia, Sarah, the planet that Gears of War takes place on, has only one moon. So
this
could be a new planet. Obviously, they share some technology. We see the
chainsaws,
the Lancer. This shotgun on the Gnasher on his back looks very familiar.
It looks really, really cool. I'm just having flashbacks to playing the first two Gears games in co-op, and I'm just so excited about it now. I'd never realized how much I cared about Gears until right now. Like, we're seeing it again, being like, man, I remember having so much fun with Gears. I'm looking forward to seeing more of it now. And, I mean, expanded fiction, sure, why not? This is a chance for them to actually try and tell a better story. I mean, the first Gears game had the most interesting story of it because it was laying out a universe, and this is
had
kind
the benefit of being the origin.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
And if they treat this in a similar fashion, where they reset everything and kind of draw a line underneath all the other stuff that happened before and tell a new Gears story, it could be an opportunity to like go back to that first game and have an interesting story to tell.
Don't touch that.
Don't touch that.
It's not only that he touches it, he leans over it.
Yeah, he leans over
it. So he
it.
gets
It's
like right in his face. In terms of, new, you were talking about new fiction, we also see new enemies. So perhaps instead of, the emulsion inside the planet making locusts, it made these creepy like more insectile enemies
Yeah.
we saw right at the end.
Yeah, I mean the enemies that we saw, like when it first popped up, I was like, wow, it looks like Rex from Mass Effect.
It does.
Yeah,
that
so-
big
totally.
forehead.
I just want to hear the gears just sound like Krogan as they're shooting, as it's coming towards them.
Oh, I miss Rex.
Yeah,
oh man,
he's
what
great.
if
Legend.
Gears
Rex
and
is
Mass
great.
Effect were in the same universe?
He looks just like Rex.
Oh, look at his teeth.
Oh,
Except now.
Except now, yeah. And the main character
that
looks.
many tongues.
He looks just like BJ Blazkowicz. A bit like I remember
does.
people made that observation. Like, wow, he looks like BJ.
He does.
But yeah, I like the UI looks similar, so it's kind of evoking
Yeah.
the same old Gears of War kind of familiar feeling.
And I just think
Sure.
graphically it looks fantastic.
Oh, it looks
Yeah, it looks.
great.
I mean, the Gears games are always stunning to look at, and chainsawing things is still rad. Apparently,
true.
yeah, as you can see here.
Are you guys sad to not see Doom-style dismemberment out of these chainsaw
You know what? I'm
fatalities?
okay. I'm okay
I'm
with
good.
it.
I'm good,
I'm
thank
all right
you.
with it.
Oh, and with that tongue party in the Gears of War guy, or the Gears 4 guy's face, we're going to wrap up here our post-show coverage from Microsoft's press conference 2015 at E3. We are going to be coming back at you in just a short amount of time. Let me check the schedule here, because we have got the EA press conference coming up at 12:30. That's in just 45 minutes. We'll be back with the pre-show. And so please come, join us then, get some food or whatever meal time it is for you right now. We're going to go eat. We'll be back to talk about EA here live from GameSpot HQ at E3 2015.